Whenever I do live streams, I find it a little bit overwhelming trying to keep up with the chat. And so I decided to make a little tool to deal with the huge amount of chat messages, and also at the same time, a tool that allows me to unify my Twitch chat with my YouTube chat, just in case I decide to stream on both at the same time in the future. So I sat down, I decided, okay, I'm gonna basically vibe code this because it's just a tool, it's not super important for me. And so I decided to make it in Rust. And this is kind of how I decided to set it up. So I wanted to have a server and client architecture so that I can run the server on one of my PCs at home. And then on my streaming PC, I can run the client, and it's just going to hook into that server and get the messages. And so the server is going to keep things so that in case I restart or do anything, my client can continue receiving those messages. And both the server and the client are going to track some state to keep a record of where they're up to. So if the server restarts, it doesn't just lose all of its messages. And if the client restarts, it doesn't forget where it was up to in the list of messages. Anyhow, the next segment of this video is just going to be a very sped up version of me doing the vibe coding. It took me about 3 hours and 20 minutes end to end to get things into a state where I was happy with it. But I have condensed that down into 10 minutes. But just to give you a sneak peek before I jump into the vibe coding, I will show you an example of how the tool is working currently. So I've got my little repo here. I'm just going to run cargo run and then stream chat. And it is going to open a terminal interface. We've got no messages currently, but if I send a message into this Twitch pop-out chat that I have, you can see it's hooked into the Twitch IRC server and it's going to receive these messages. And then when I hit space, it's going to clear the oldest message from the queue. So if I was to just do a bunch of spamming in here, it's only going to hold, say, 10 messages, and then it will wait for me to acknowledge the oldest message. So without further ado, here is the vibe coding. So firstly, I'm going to create a new cargo project, and I'm going to immediately write down a spec or a design document. It's not going to be extensive, it's just going to be something quite casual just to give the LLM a bit of a start. And I'm just going to tell the LLM to read that. And hopefully it's going to come up with some kind of a plan here. And it's come up with an implementation plan, which I'm going to inspect for a moment just to make sure everything's all right. There's a few open questions in there. And it looks fine, so I'm going to get Gemini 3.5 Flash with medium effort to kick off the implementation. And so it's going to spin, and I'm going to do a little bit of an inspection, make sure it's just see what it's doing while it's occurring. And once it's completed the implementation, I'm going to look over some of the documents it's written and some of the code that it's written. Seems reasonable enough, so I'm going to run it. And we've got our server running here and the terminal interface at the bottom. We can see that the messages are coming through, and it's just mock messages that have come through. And you can see that I've already removed a few of the buttons because they were a little bit too noisy for me. I'm looking through these UI elements, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I don't need this, maybe I don't need that. So I'm going to try to remove those, move things around. This is a part of making, having ownership over the code. If you jump in and you edit it yourself, then you're going to start to understand it more. And that's just general good practice. whether it's code produced by an LLM or if it's code produced by another human. Here I'm actually looking up some emojis to put into the connection status that's at the bottom of the terminal interface. And I decided emojis, maybe not. So instead I grabbed this Unicode dotted circle because I just wanted a little blip to show me, am I connected to the server or not? And if there's any errors, it's going to have like an error message next to it. So yeah, just a stylistic thing. In honesty, it's probably not necessary, but that's just how these LLMs do things. They go way over the top, they over-engineer it. Really, all I needed was just a list of messages and to hit space whenever I needed to acknowledge something. So now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to realize that opinion by cutting out a bunch of stuff. Like the top bar is gone now. Basically going to comment out almost everything that's in the UI, running into a few compilation errors here, but that's fine. And now we have just the messages. We've still got the connection status down the bottom, but I'm going to decide that that should maybe be on the right-hand side because it's sort of cluttering, in my opinion, it's cluttering the text a little bit. And yeah, here I'm just messing about with the connection status, putting a little bit of text there. That looks kind of good with a dot and the word connected. Looks okay. And then I accidentally closed Gemini Conversation, so I have to reopen it again. And now what I'm getting it to do is to track the state, like I mentioned in the design earlier, in the diagram. I want the server to make sure it is tracking what messages it has, or at least saving those messages to disk periodically. And the client is going to sort of keep like a pointer to where it was up to, so that when it starts back up again, it's not going to just get a whole bunch of other ones and lose everything that it had. So Gemini already implemented that, and now I'm going through inspecting what it did with the state tracking. And I also got it to add some logs, I believe. And now we're just giving it a little bit of a test here. Still using the mock messages. So I decided that the logs were a little bit too noisy. And also the number of messages that it's displaying at one given moment, that's hard-coded. So I wanted it to have a CLI. And it's already completed that. So I started it up with more messages in the interface, and the logs are looking better and everything, so that's cool. But the logs are just doing prints to stand it out, and there's actually quite nice logging libraries in Rust, one called tracing, and so I got Gemini to use that instead. They're a lot nicer now. They've got color for the levels, and the debug messages are hidden, so that's cool. And then at this point, things are looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy. And I'm just going to go through and do a bit of refactors. So going to name things in the way that I want them to be named, make the imports cleaner. I decided that the connection status, which is currently 2 fields on the app state, should just be 1 with the status and connection info and whatever. So now that I'm happy with all that, I decided I'm going to get my real credentials and put them into the config. So I've asked it to make an example config for me. And then I went and looked at the instructions on YouTube and it's just logging into IRC for Twitch, and here you can see me testing, sending some messages. So I did a little sneaky live, unlisted live stream on YouTube, and I just opened the chat on Twitch, and I sent those messages through. And now this is just a bunch of refactors. After this, I'm going to push it to Git and restructure it. But maybe I could, at the end of this, I'll actually show how I got my credentials from YouTube, just in case other people want to use this for their own streams, because the process was not 100% straightforward. These refactors that I'm doing here, I find that LLMs put too much error handling. I'd rather things crash when they're obviously really wrong. You know, when something is a null, I'd rather it either crashes or doesn't do anything or has different behavior, just so that the code is like not super defensive. There's nothing wrong with super defensive code, but you know, when you have an awareness of like, this person didn't put a YouTube config, so they don't want to use YouTube. So it doesn't have to be aggressively handled. And then there's a few parts here where it's using syntax, which is like, would be considered really ugly. I know people think, well, why do you bother looking at the code anymore? And well, the fact is, I probably will look at the code in future, and I don't want to come back to this in 2 months and it's painful to look at and I can't figure out what the hell's going on. So there I was testing again. Twitch chat is really easy to test here. YouTube is a little bit harder. You actually have to start a live stream, grab the video ID from the link, and provide it, unless you do a public live stream, which you may not want to do. And then you can just provide the channel ID and do an API lookup to get the video ID, and that way you can connect into the chat. So it's kind of a bit annoying. I much prefer the Twitch way of doing things, where you can just log into an IRC server. And then the last thing here was just trying to change the colors of the messages and whatnot. Anyway, that then gets pushed to Git. And then the final thing that I asked Gemini to do was to restructure the binaries so that they have code in the library, and they pull in most of the code into the binary. So the binaries will be really simple, and then all of the library code will be in modules, and the modules will be appropriately named. And I specifically want to have no surprises when I go and read the module name. It's exactly what it does. So then I went through, inspected things, made sure it's all fine and dandy, and spoiler alert, it is. And you can see this code on GitHub. It's public. You can use the tool yourself. I've put instructions for how to use the tool. And yeah, so that's about it. So I guess I'll go into how I got the YouTube API key, because it wasn't super straightforward, but I think it's useful to show. So pretty much I went to like Google Cloud Console, and yeah, console.cloud.google.com. And it's going to show this kind of a screen. Maybe if you don't have a project, you will have to do something like, right, so if you don't have a project, I think you have to go up here to this thing, or you can press Control O. It should bring up something like this. You want to go to New Project and call it whatever. I'll go to my existing project. And then from here, I just went to APIs and services. And then I had to enable APIs and services. and I found YouTube Data API v3, found this thing, and I had to enable it here somehow. And then I had to go back to my project. And then you can go in APIs and services, you go to credentials, and then create credentials, API key, put in a name, then you select the YouTube data API, and then you just create. And it will give you an API key, which is going to be secret, and you shouldn't show it to anyone. And that is the API key that you use. So that's how I did that. And that's it. So I just wanted to show how do I use AI in a way, making a tool that's not super important. I just want to get it done, and it's going to help me a little bit. That's how I do it. That's pretty much what I did. Keep in mind that took me 3 hours on the day, and through some editing, I got it down to 10 minutes. Anyway, that's it. Thanks.